July 6, 2002 to order. And the first order of business from the agenda appears to be approved minutes from our last meeting's June 1st, 2022. Anybody have any changes? I don't have them to pull up, but has everybody had a chance to read them?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Is everybody all set with them?
I'll make a motion to approve them. Whoops. Jinx. I'll second it. I'll second it.
Motion made by Marge, seconded by Catherine. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Aye.
Good. Very good. Thank you. Okay, follow-up discussion on 128 Business Council Transportation Regional Plan. I think we had, that was on last month's agenda and we deferred it because, why? Does anybody remember who wasn't here?
I think there hadn't been a meeting yet.
Oh, there hadn't been a meeting yet.
No.
Okay. And
but I think that's Rick's baby, isn't it?
Anybody else familiar with 128 Business Council? No? Other than, has anybody else attended the meetings, I guess I want to say. No? Okay.
I have not. I do have like a very small update in that
please.
There hasn't been a lot of movement. I think that there were, and they missed the window to apply for the MassDOT grant that they were hoping to apply for to run a pilot project. So because they didn't have enough support, they didn't feel like there was any way that they could actually come up with like whatever the contribution was, the 20% or whatever the contribution was for the local contribution. So I know they're still working on it, but I don't know details in terms of Burlington and status. I do know that the Lexington Transportation Manager is working on sort of some other kind of ways in to look at the issue that will come up in Lexington, which is that our contracts will end at the end of this coming fiscal year. So we have to make some decisions about something sometime. So that's kind of all I have.
I actually talked to her before the holiday. I can't remember, it was like 2 weeks ago maybe, about what you guys are doing and what we're doing and seeing if we can intertwine. It doesn't look like yet.
Yep.
Hopefully soon.
Now, what is this supposed to be an extension of their already existing shuttle service or not? Wasn't that?
The hope was a replacement so that they would replace the Lexpress service with a fixed route regional service that then would be fed into by other, other like on demand or or taxi or whatever. That's the ultimate vision, but it means sort of starting with something small and adding on as regional partners want to join in kind of thing. So yeah, just tough getting a little traction on it.
Okay, I thought I was aware that the 128 Business Council already had a shuttle service in the Waltham area and tending up this way, but stopping at Lexington or stopping before Lexington?
They go through Lexington. They have several different lines and different kind of partners who pay into those, and then they allow the public to ride for free when it's available. So they do have lots of different
So
things that they run already.
Okay. Because I know Middlesex 3 tried something from Alewife to Burlington, at least Burlington. I'm not sure how much further it went, and I thought that they were going to try and talk to the 128 Business Council and combine something. I mean, I've been out of the picture for a while, so I haven't. Has anybody heard anything about that? No. Okay. All right. So that's
John has something, Ernie.
John, go ahead. Sorry.
Hi, sorry, I couldn't raise my hand on the little controls down there.
Yeah, I wouldn't see it anyways because I'm blind as a bat. Go ahead.
Fantastic. Anyway, Melissa Tatopoulos appeared during the selectmen's meeting, the last selectmen's meeting, and she had gotten into discussions about this. What for the pilot program? What that program from Lexington was looking for from us here in Burlington was $5 million to start the pilot. So when she mentioned that figure, that kind of began, the enthusiasm began to drain away from the different selectmen. So I don't think we're going to be participating in that right now. And then Lexington will have to restart or, come up with another alternative. So they were looking for funding for the pilot program to start that. And Melissa came up with that. That was going to be our contribution.
That was also meant to be, that could be shared with public-private dollars. And I feel like 5 million was actually the total cost and not the Burlington contribution, but I could be wrong on that, because that would mean that the total cost would be somewhere around $25 million per year to run something like that, which seems a bit high. But I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't know for sure.
Yeah, pardon my T-shirt, by the way. Yeah, and then the Lexington people had also mentioned in one of the previous meetings with the 128 Business Council that they used funds from the school bus transportation program there in Lexington as a beginning source for this kind of thing, which I don't know how that would work here in Burlington, because I know we love our school buses.
Right. Okay. So where does it sit right now? The people that are aware. So Burlington, it sounds like presentation made in front of the selectmen, stating that there was a $5 ask, and the selectmen went, and is it, so it's gone? Is that it? Does anybody know?
I expect they could probably be reintroduced. It was just turned down at this time.
Okay.
So for this particular presentation, people said that we don't want to get involved with this. So, but they didn't say that we could never do it or whatever. So.
Sure. Never is a long ways away. You're right. Okay, so rather than beat a dead horse, let's move on to item 3, which is safe routes to school update. And anybody?
I don't.
Schools. Catherine, is that you? Schools?
Update.
No.
Yeah, so the surveys have gone out for the parents to take in terms of trying to, find out, why they're driving their students, et cetera. So that was due in, I think, a few weeks ago. So we don't have the results of any of that yet. Trying to think of what else. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. I talked to Judy. We won like a $50 gift card. Fox Hill won some because I took the Safe Routes to School survey. So I've been talking with Judy quickly about that. But she still owes us all of the results of Memorial, Marshall Simons, and Fox Hill arrival and departure audits. So I think she's working on getting those, and as I assume also some sort of feedback from the survey as well. So no real updates there. We should be eligible to apply for funding in the fall, so that could be something we can talk about on a future agenda, what we might want to apply for, but I don't think we have much to update now.
Okay. Anybody else on that topic?
Ernie, Sherry had a question.
Sure, Sherry, go ahead. Sorry.
Thanks, Ernie. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So that was a great lead in about funding in the fall. I had a question regarding this and what kind of funding is available. So following the horrible accident that happened to the pedestrians over on Francis Wyman, Kate Asher and I've been looking at crosswalk signage. And it's woefully inadequate in town all over the place, but a lot of it is at the school intersections, Memorial and the middle school there, that intersection right there, there's no signage. And it's great when they have the crosswalk, the crossing guard during school, but there's nothing there. So I'm wondering how the program works that, I know there's probably not a lot of funding, they're not going to do it all over town, but how does the Safe Routes to School work? And would something like this crosswalk signage be something that a grant could be obtained or received or something?
So I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure that this is exactly what the funding is eligible for. The thing I'm not positive of, and I'm happy to research, is so we've done the 3 audits. I don't know if it's something that needs to be specifically called out in an audit that then we apply for the funding for, which hopefully that will be called out. There's a crosswalk across from Veterans Park on Wilmington Road that is a lead into Fox Hill that also has inadequate signage, in my opinion, and does not have a crossing guard for school. So those are things like I assume we can work on some sort of list and prioritize and then look to get funding there. I would maybe guess that the town would have to match or have some sort of commitment. I don't know. So I can take that back. I just know that the rounds start in September and the Judy told me that it's the level of engagement in the program is one of the biggest determining factors. So I and others, we've been trying to obviously remain as engaged as possible. I know they're backed up. We'd be willing to do more, but Judy hasn't been able to do much. And I think I know I've been talking with Mr. Rosenblatt about getting some like assemblies scheduled for the fall. So those would be our next steps in terms of engagement, is having Safe Routes come and teach like the kids how to walk safely, how to stay, those type of things, how to bike safety, all of those things. So I'm trying to get those scheduled for the fall as well, now that we have the time, because it was all conflicting with MCAS in the spring. But I'll take away exactly how we do it. I know, Marge, you mentioned that you had taken the training that's required to apply for the grants, something along those lines. It's
2 years ago. I don't know if that would be okay or not.
Okay, all right, so
Yeah.
send that out as well.
Now,
There's also probably, sorry, Ernie, go ahead.
no, go ahead. No, you first, please.
There's also probably other grants through the state, like there's like Safe Streets grants. I'm blanking on the name of one of the other ones that I know of that comes around like either rolling or fairly frequently. So I think if Safe Routes wasn't a possible avenue for grant funding for that, there's lots of other ones that I think, especially if we connect with like planning department or something to work on the grant proposal and that sort of thing, that could work.
So currently I'm meeting, or hopefully next week, meeting with Kevin Keene from DPW and kind of going over it with him. And so I just kind of wanted to gather if this was something that, again, I'm hoping that the DPW will come up with a crosswalk plan, like they have the sidewalk plan, for, painting, signage, all that kind of stuff, so that going forward, and consistency, they're all over the place. Some are striped, some are not striped, so I'm just kind of hoping that the DPW will take this on as a project to develop a plan, and then, gather money from wherever, if it's, the Safe Streets or Safe Routes to School. But so I just figured I saw this on the agenda and I just pop in to kind of ask the question and let you know that that's at least something I'm working on. I don't know how far it will go, but, hopefully it will go somewhere. And I feel I've worked on sidewalks for a long time and now realize, yikes, there's not a lot of signage. So, okay. All right. Well, I'll certainly be in touch and, let you know kind of where I end up with on this, or where DPW is, and we can touch base again. Also, I do know, or I read somewhere, that the town just received, I think it was Ken Gordon's post, $150,000 for bike routes / pedestrian safety. So I wrote to Paul Sagarino and I said, hey, I got an idea, crosswalk signage. I'm sure that money maybe is already allocated. I haven't heard back yet, but just keep that in the back of, the committee's foresight too, for whatever you guys need money for, if it's out there. So thank you.
Now, Sherry, a question for you. When you say crosswalk signage, are you talking just signs that say crosswalk ahead or something as fancy as across from Mercedes?
Well, I think that's the plan that has to be developed, right? At Francis Wyman School, there's a total stoplight. It's green all the time. The person hits the light and it goes to red, right? It goes yellow and then red. You know, the crosswalk that these two women were hit at, it's a flashy thing, and then it goes to red flashy. And there's you know, some places that you may need a light. Some places you may only need those yellow triangle signs that, you know, just point down
Okay.
to the crosswalk. But it's all over the place. And you know, I've only taken pictures on this half of the town, but I would say 75 to 80% of the crosswalks don't have adequate signage, that you don't see the sign, it's behind a tree. You know, there's no warning. There's the old signs that are about this big that say state law requires you to stop in a crosswalk, but it's faded and nobody can read it. So, you know, we've got a bunch of those. So it's all over the place. And I think that's the whole point of what I'm trying to do is I drive through other towns, and, you know, there's these bright triangle signs with the pole is lit up bright and they've got the arrows, and then they have the solar panels that, you know, you push the button and the, you know, the strobe lights come on. So, you know, there's got to be a best practice somewhere or something, and so that's what I'm hoping to get some information on and develop and help the DPW do that. So
Okay. And the other thing I was thinking that, you know, oftentimes we say, why don't we apply for a grant? And then we miss the deadline. Is there a repository of deadline dates somewhere for this? There isn't, is there? No, I see you're shaking your head, Marjorie.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? It makes
Yeah,
life so much
yeah.
easier.
yeah.
Okay.
Ernie, I did want to add one more thing. You'd asked, you know, as far as the school is concerned, at the last school committee meeting, I know part of what we needed to do for Safe Routes was to adapt a wellness policy, and we did vote on verbiage for that to be added to our wellness policy for the school. So that was voted on at the last meeting. We picked a paragraph, and it'll be incorporated. So we're moving things along as far as following guidelines to make
Safe routes.
ourselves eligible.
Okay, good. Anybody else on safe routes to school item? Yeah. I don't see anybody's hand actually raised. That's what I'm looking for, because if I look down here, I can see my little hand. So the next item on the agenda, item 4, is MBTA bus route network redesign. Did anybody have a chance to attend the meetings that were looking for input on the 3 bus routes that they were talking about redesigning, and one I guess they were going to get rid of? Anybody? No?
I know Rick did. I think John did.
Yeah, I was unable to make it.
Can you give us some input, John? Yeah. I think you may be on mute.
Oh, there we go. Oh, sorry about that. So they went through a little bit of the presentation, and they broke up into smaller groups where you could express your concerns. And they went in general, they went over the redesign. Their idea is to have more frequent bus service throughout the day at the expense of some of these routes that don't carry a lot of people. So of course that affects us here in Burlington because we have some of the routes that don't carry a lot of people. Pardon me. And one of the routes that they are looking to take out is the 351 Express. And that caused a lot of consternation. A lot of people from Burlington had something to say about that. So they received that feedback. Also, they're looking to cut out the 350 direct from Alewife. It's going to not go into Wegmans like it does now, or go by the mall. It's going to go straight up Cambridge Street, and they're going to have a cutoff route that's going to come from Sullivan Square, go through Woburn, Winchester, Woburn Center, and come over. And that's going to go to our Northwest Park. So there are some objections to that. And that was basically it. It was just an information gathering meeting for the MBTA to get initial feedback on their plans and their changes. And they'll be having a system-wide, so anybody can go, and that'll be on the 19th. So I guess, I don't know, maybe else, I don't know whose email I have here. I could send that information. And then those people that want to have a minute or two, want to join in on that, you can see what the plan is. But the big issue was, and they're very, very vehement, of course, because the 351, as you remember, That's our unofficial park and ride at the Presbyterian Church. So
Right.
people from Tewksbury, Wilmington, Billerica, they all use that bus, and so it drains a big area. And I don't think the MBTA was cognizant of that.
Yeah, that cuts off the whole Merrimack Valley area close to us.
Yeah, it was, and isn't that well ridden? Aren't there a lot of?
Oh, the person, and I didn't bring any of my notes from that meeting,
Yeah.
but oh, she was all over the place. Boy, was she indignant. It's packed as it is now, and now we're going to have to share with the 350. It's going to be even ridiculous. So it was good. It was good to hear somebody like, and that's the kind of feedback that they were looking for.
Right.
So they were looking for riders to speak up and say what's going on.
Isn't one of the criteria for cutting it the fact that it's not being used? And obviously they have those figures of people that ride it. So what was did that make any sense?
Well, this is their proposal. So yes, they do have math. They do have the math and the ridership and so forth to say that this could be combined with the 350. But but their ridership is kind of a general total. So I don't know if they have it broken down by rush hour or by hour or whatever.
Yeah,
Although
I mean,
could do that. And so the buses that these people were riding were packed. And then maybe the 9 o'clock bus not so packed, and the MBTA looks over the totals and says, well, maybe we can combine everything. And so, well, but again, oh, sorry.
The buses from Lowell only run from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and that's it. So they're probably packed in those 5 days in that, 12-hour period. And then weekends there's nothing, and nights there's nothing, but the other buses aren't running to catch it.
Well,
The feeder bus, yeah.
The 351 is it's basically a commuter route. So what they're looking to do is to mesh that service in with the 350, which is now just going to go up and down Cambridge Street, and then use that as kind of the commuter route. But the 350 it takes forever. It goes through everywhere. 8 stops in Arlington, so it's not what people are looking for really. So again, there's a little more heat on that, and I think they'll probably restore that route. But that was their idea. It's just this again, just preliminary ideas, and they're looking for feedback from the community.
Now, these changes are supposed to go into effect next year or the end of this year?
They're gonna implement them gradually. So it's not going to be a draconian, this is the way it is. They're going to take more feedback, and then in the fall of this year, they're going to come out with another modification, take a little more feedback, and then starting in the spring of 2023, then they'll start to actually put these changes into practice.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's important that people try and attend and speak out if they have a stake in the matter, and obviously quite a few people do. Maybe we should. Is there any way that we can get the word out to at least the Burlington people that are using the express bus?
You can go on the Burlington transportation page on the town webpage, and Jen put all that Better Bus stuff up. Also,
great.
you can send emails to
Right.
betterbus@mbta.com, and that's another way to put in the feedback.
Oh, you can. Okay. So you don't necessarily have to attend the meeting. You can also give input through an email. Great. And all that, John, is up. Jen's usually pretty good with that. It's up on the transportation page. Is that what you're saying?
Right. And so if you go on the webpage, but if anybody, I don't know, let's see if I can, because I have a Chromebook, so I can't always do stuff the Windows guys can. But anybody wants to put their email in the chat, and then I'll send the Better Bus stuff to them.
Okay, great.
Sure.
Anybody else on the MBTA network changes? Okay. Item 5 is high school transportation survey, and I think somebody, Catherine, did you mention that that's out and coming back, or was it Melissa? I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, so it was a survey that was taken last year, and I had, you all had wanted to see it. And so it was sent out to everybody, I don't know, like meeting before last or 2 meetings. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look it over yet, but it did give some of the, information and feedback from the students in terms of, you know, what percent of them are getting rides with their parents and why. And, you know, I think it was slide 2, 13% of the students report that a lack of transportation has prevented them from engaging in school-sponsored activities. Let's see, 81% said that their parents are their primary mean for transportation. 45% of students will participate in more school activities if they had the transportation necessary. Most 82% rely on parent guardian for transportation for extracurricular activities. 25% have taken the late bus, and they said that, you know, the routes are extremely long and the buses are often unavailable when most needed. What else? They were just talking about transportation inequities, and then they put in a bunch of statements from students saying that they've missed practices. Some kids have missed school because they didn't have a ride. They said some of the routes that they're walking on are not safe because there's no sidewalks and they're, you know, squishing into people's grass to stay off the road. And of course, when it gets darker earlier, you know, it starts to get dark, what, between 4 and 4:30 certain times of year. The roads aren't well lit. You know, kids cannot take Uber either because you have to be 18. So some of them, I think, said they're fudging it so that they can take an Uber ride. They said they've reported missing practices and tryouts because they have no transportation. So I mean, you know, it just goes on, you know, about their want for a bus or some other way to be able to participate in after school activities.
And what kind of response did how many kids responded, or how many students responded to the survey?
I don't
Do
see
you
the
know the
number in the
percentage or anything?
survey. Yeah, I don't recall what it was, if how many students participated, but it was, from what I recall, it was a pretty good,
Yeah.
large group of kids.
Okay, so that's definitely a need out there that somehow or another should be addressed by the town or
Well, I mean,
whoever.
that's what we started that whole, you know,
Yeah.
app for, you know, that we talked about several months ago to see if that would be something that
Right.
would work for parents and students to ride share. And
Right.
of course, you know, we had that whole presentation. It's just, again, everything costs money. Buses cost money. I mean, the kids were like, yeah, let's get a bus. And I'm like, do you guys know how much a bus costs? You know, yeah, that'd be great. But, you know, but I did want to make sure that, you know, I think 45% would participate in more school activities if they had transportation. I mean, that
Right.
says it all.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. Sure. Is a survey available? Could you send that out again by any chance?
You want me to send it again?
Yeah, or could we maybe, yes, could you send it again? I don't know. Does it make any sense to have a link to it on the transportation page, or would you rather not? Or from
Um,
the school's perspective,
yeah,
I
I don't,
don't like.
I mean, I'm sure it'd be okay, but I would like to run it past Bob Cuna
Sure.
or someone first. It might already be posted on the school site too. I'm
Right.
not sure.
Yeah, that's true too. Because I think that might open a few people's eyes when they saw things like 45% of kids don't participate in after school activities because they don't have a way of getting home afterwards. That's not good for sure. But okay. Anybody else on the high school transportation survey? Any comments or anything?
Just a quick question. A lot
Sure.
of those numbers that you just said were very familiar, I think, from what the committee preceding us did. Was that an input to their large report?
Oh,
Because I know I read that months ago.
I do not know. I do not know.
Okay.
How long ago was that survey taken? A couple of years? Is that what you said,
That was
Catherine?
last year. So it was,
Last year?
yeah. So,
It could be then. Yeah.
so I mean, so technically we've gone through a full another year of school since we
Yeah.
received it. It was the end of the school year prior.
Okay. So
Okay. So I think it's some of those same numbers. Yeah.
right. Okay. Yep. Okay, the next item, other.
Actually,
Go ahead,
you know what,
Catherine,
on the,
sure.
go ahead, just I'll cut with, an analysis of 1,184 BHS students and MSMS student responses.
Wow. Out
I
of
found the
how many
number.
do we know? Anybody know out of how many? Is that like 50? That's over 50%, isn't it? Or not? I
think the high school itself is around 1,000 or 1,100 students,
It's
right?
it's 900 and something.
950 in the high school.
Okay.
950
So I
at
mean,
the high
that's a
school.
good sample size.
Yeah, it's good, really good. It's much better response than you'd get out of the community as a whole. Go ahead.
Oh, just
I'm
briefly,
sorry.
sure, just briefly, that also included the middle school, that total. So
Right.
lots from the high school and some from the middle school.
So even if we say double, so it's at least 50%, at least 50% of the people that attend those schools, it sounds like, replied, which is a real good sample. I mean, wow, yes. Okay, now we have the data. We have to do something with it, obviously. But, item 6 is other transportation options discussions. Anybody wish to speak on that? No? Okay, I guess we're really hampered without Rick being here. We'll have to tell him to make sure he doesn't get COVID again, that's for sure. Anyways, chair reports, chair isn't here, and the vice chair does not have a report. Anybody have anything they want to add? I know this is very brief, but anything to add? Any tasks that we have to get done by a certain time that haven't been mentioned? No.
I think there's the overarching question of, when do we have to report back out, and how should we start? Are we ready to start bringing anything together, or should we discuss a little more first and get some more inputs from Safe Routes to School, and
Right.
go from there?
Right. Sometimes I forget that this committee is actually put together to advise the selectmen on what we would suggest they do. I don't know what that deadline date was, Jeremy. Rick may have a better handle, and actually Nick isn't here. He should.
I think it's October or November. It would be the 1 year mark. And I think that was the idea, was a 1 year long commitment to generate recommendations. I know, yeah, Rick's definitely on top of it in terms of timeline. And I think he recently provided an update either to town meeting or to the select board. Or both. I can't
Town
remember.
meeting, I think he did, yes.
Town meeting.
I believe
Invite.
so, yes. Okay, so we should, well, Rick should, we should all have a target date in mind that we want to pull everything together, which sounds like it should be sometime, but this is July, it should be sometime in August, I imagine, if we want something ready for October. But so at the next meeting, we probably should get in depth a little bit more about that, and I'll talk to Rick and ask him to maybe reach out to Nick and find out what they're expecting anyways. Is there anything else that has anything to do with transportation? No? I don't have anything. The next meeting date is August 3rd, also at 6:30. Chair would accept a meeting to adjourn. Sorry, but
I'll make a motion.
Second it.
Motion made in second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Look at that. We gained an hour and a half back of our night.
Wow, how did that happen?